Ethan Wright was going to die in space. He knew this as he looked at the oxygen level display on his escape pod. The small screen showed he had less than 30 minutes of air left. His breath made small clouds in the cold air of the pod. The heating system was failing too. "This is Ethan Wright of research vessel Artemis. Final log entry," he said into the pod's recorder. "The attack came without warning. No distress call was sent. I don't think anyone else made it out." His voice was calm despite knowing these would be his last words. The Artemis had been a science vessel. Ethan worked as the ship's botanist, studying plant life from distant worlds. The ship had been peaceful. They had no weapons. When the mercenary ships appeared, they had no chance. Ethan closed his eyes. He thought about Earth, about the green forests and blue oceans he would never see again. He thought about his small apartment with its many plants. Who would water them now? A strange sound made him open his eyes. The pod was shaking. At first, he thought it was another system failing. Then he realized something was pulling the pod. He looked out the small window and saw a massive ship. It was like nothing humans had ever built. The ship was sleek and dark, with strange purple lights along its hull. It seemed to be made of metal that changed color as he watched. "Hello?" Ethan said, though he knew no one could hear him. "Is someone there?" The pod was pulled into a large opening in the side of the alien ship. Ethan felt fear and hope mix in his chest. Would these aliens help him or kill him? At this point, he had nothing to lose. The pod landed with a soft thud. Ethan tried to open the hatch, but his fingers were too numb from the cold. He waited, watching the window for any sign of his rescuers or captors. The hatch opened from the outside. Bright light flooded the pod, making Ethan shield his eyes. When he could see again, he found himself looking at the most beautiful being he had ever seen. She was tall and slender, with skin that seemed to change color like the hull of the ship. Right now, it was a soft blue that shimmered in the light. Her eyes were the color of purple gems, large and without whites. She had no hair, but her head was covered in small scale-like patterns that caught the light. Her hands had 6 long fingers each. She wore what looked like armor, black with purple markings. "Human," she said. Her voice was musical but cold. "You are dying." Ethan nodded. He couldn't speak. The air in the ship was breathable, but his lungs hurt from the cold. The alien woman made a gesture and 2 others appeared. They looked similar to her but were clearly lower in rank. They wore simpler armor and kept their eyes down. "Take him to medical," she ordered. "Quickly." The 2 aliens lifted Ethan as if he weighed nothing. He tried to thank them, but no words came out. The last thing he saw before he passed out was the tall alien woman watching him with those strange purple eyes. Ethan woke up on a table that seemed to be made of the same color-changing metal as the ship. He was warm again. His body felt strange, light and heavy at the same time. The room around him was filled with devices he couldn't understand. "You are awake," said a voice. The alien woman was standing in the doorway. "Good. Thank you for saving me," Ethan said. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. "I am Commander Lyra of the Vaharan Dominion Fleet," she said. She did not acknowledge his thanks. "This is my ship, the Twilight Sentinel." "I'm Ethan Wright. I was on a research vessel called the Artemis." "I know. We found the remains of your ship. There were no other survivors." Ethan closed his eyes. He had hoped somehow that others might have escaped. "Why did you save me?" he asked. "A question I have been asking myself," Lyra said. She moved closer to the table. Her movements were graceful, like water flowing. "Your pod crossed into Vaharan space. I was curious about what humans were doing so far from their territory." "We're studying plant life on the moons of Kepler 22b, Ethan said. "We weren't looking for trouble." "The ships that attacked you were Krell mercenaries," Lyra said. "The Krell Imperium has been watching human worlds for some time. They see you as easy targets." Ethan tried to sit up, but his body felt wrong. "Are they going to attack Earth?" "Not yet, but they will, eventually. The Krell always expand their territory." I need to warn my people, Ethan said. Lyra made a sound that might have been a laugh. You cannot go back to Earth, human. The moment I brought you aboard this ship, your life changed forever. What do you mean? Vaharan law is clear. When we save a life, we become responsible for that life. You are now bound to me, to my service and protection, until one of us dies. She tilted her head. And Vaharans live for a very long time. You can't just decide that for me, Ethan said. I'm a human being, not your property. I did not make the law, Lyra said, but I will follow it. You will serve on my ship. You will learn our ways. In return, you will live. And if I refuse? Ethan asked. Lyra's expression did not change, but her eyes seemed to glow brighter. There is nowhere for you to go, human. Your ship is destroyed. Your people are far away, and the Krell would kill you on sight. She paused. Besides, you have already been changed. Changed? What do you mean? The medical treatment that saved your life included adaptations to help you survive on this ship. The gravity, the air, the food, all would have killed you without these changes. Ethan looked down at his hands. They looked the same, but they felt different, stronger. What did you do to me? We made you more, Lyra said. Not Vaharan, but more than human. It was necessary. Ethan felt anger rise in his chest. You had no right. I had every right, Lyra said. Her voice was still calm. I am commander of this ship. I decide who lives and who dies here. She stepped closer to the table. Rest now. Tomorrow, you begin your new life. She turned to leave, her armor catching the light as she moved. Why? Ethan called after her. Why save me at all? Why not just let me die? Lyra stopped at the doorway. For a moment she said nothing. Then without turning around, she spoke softly. Because when I saw your pod drifting in the void, when I saw you fighting to live even as the cold and darkness closed in, I recognized something in you, human. Something I rarely see, even among my own kind. She paused. Tomorrow we will see if I was right. The door closed behind her, leaving Ethan alone with his thoughts. He looked around the alien medical room, at the strange devices and shimmering walls. This was his life now. A human among aliens, bound to a commander he did not know or understand, but he was alive. And where there was life, there was hope. Ethan Wright had always been good at adapting. It was why he had become a botanist, to study how life changed to survive in new environments. Now, he would have to do the same. Tomorrow would come, and with it, a new world, a new life. For now, he would rest and prepare for whatever the stars had in store for him. The Twilight Sentinel received new orders 3 weeks later. A derelict space station had been found at the edge of Vaharan space. No one knew who built it or how old it was. Commander Lyra and her crew were ordered to investigate. This is a great honor, Lyra told Ethan as they prepared for the mission. The Dominion Council rarely assigns exploration duties to warships. Why did they choose you? Ethan asked. He was helping Lyra check her equipment. After months on the ship, he had learned many Vaharan systems, because of our location and perhaps, she paused, perhaps because of you. Me? Why would I matter to the Council? You are the only human in Vaharan space. If this station was built by humans or a species similar to humans, you might be useful. Ethan felt a chill. Do they know about our connection? The mental bond between them had grown stronger. Ethan could now sense Lyra's emotions clearly. Sometimes he even caught glimpses of her thoughts. Lyra said she could sense him just as strongly. No, Lyra said firmly. If they knew, they would have ordered me to bring you directly to them. As the ship approached the station, Ethan began having strange dreams. He saw star maps and mathematical equations. He heard whispers in languages he didn't understand. When he woke, the whispers lingered in his mind. Something's happening to me, he told Lyra. I think it's connected to the station. Lyra looked, concerned. Tell me about these dreams. Ethan described them as best he could. When he mentioned certain symbols he had seen, Lyra's eyes widened. "Those symbols," she said. "They appear in our oldest records. From before the Vaharan Dominion existed. What do they mean? No one knows. They are considered sacred by some, forbidden by others." Lyra's voice was tense. "Ethan, you must not speak of these dreams to anyone else. Promise me." "I promise," Ethan said. "But why?" "Because there are factions within our society that would see such dreams as proof that humans are dangerous. That you should be eliminated." The ship reached the station the next day. It was massive, a ring-shaped structure that seemed to be made of a dark metal similar to Vaharan ships. But it was clearly much, much older. "No power signatures," reported a Vaharan officer. "The station appears dead. Prepare an exploration team," Lyra ordered. "I will lead it personally." She looked at Ethan. "You will come with me." Some of the officers looked surprised at this. "Commander," one said, "is it wise to bring the human?" "Are you questioning my orders, Officer Krell?" Lyra's voice was cold. "No, Commander. Of course not." The exploration team consisted of Lyra, Ethan, and 5 Vaharan officers. They wore spacesuits as they entered the station. The artificial gravity was still working, which surprised everyone. "This station must have incredible power reserves to maintain gravity after so long," said one officer. They moved through dark corridors. Their suit lights showed walls covered in symbols, the same symbols from Ethan's dreams. As they walked, Ethan felt a strange pulling sensation, as if something was calling to him. "This way," he said, pointing down a corridor. Lyra looked at him sharply. Through their bond, he felt her surprise and concern. "How do you know?" Ethan couldn't explain it. "I just know." Lyra hesitated, then nodded. "We will follow Ethan's direction." The corridor led to a large central chamber. As they entered, lights began to come on. The station was waking up. "It's responding to our presence," one officer said in awe. In the center of the chamber stood a cylindrical structure. It glowed with a soft blue light. Ethan walked toward it, drawn by some force he couldn't understand. "Ethan, wait!" Lyra called, but he barely heard her. When he touched the cylinder, images flooded his mind. Stars, planets, civilizations rising and falling, and a terrible truth. The Krell and the Vaharans had been created by the same ancient race. They had been engineered from the same genetic template, and that template was unmistakably human. Ethan pulled his hand away, gasping. The knowledge was too much, too overwhelming. He fell to his knees. Lyra was at his side instantly. "What happened? What did you see?" Before Ethan could answer, the cylinder projected a hologram into the center of the chamber. It showed DNA strands, genetic codes, and 3 distinct evolutionary paths stemming from a single source. The Vaharan officers stared in shock. The hologram clearly showed what Ethan had just learned, that both Vaharans and Krell had been engineered from human genetic material. "This is impossible," one officer said. "The Vaharan people are superior. We cannot be derived from humans." "It's a trick," said another. "The human has activated some kind of false historical record." But Lyra was silent, staring at the hologram with an unreadable expression. Through their bond, Ethan felt her emotions churning, shock, denial, and, beneath it all, a strange sense of recognition, as if she had always somehow known this truth. "Commander," said Officer Krell, "we must destroy this station. This information cannot reach the Dominion." "No," Lyra said. "This is our history. We cannot destroy it." "Then we must at least kill the human," Krell said, drawing his weapon. "Knows too much." Everything happened very quickly after that. Officer Krell fired at Ethan. Lyra moved faster than Ethan had ever seen, placing herself between him and the blast. Her armor absorbed most of the impact, but she was thrown backward into Ethan. The other officers looked shocked at Krell's action, but then slowly some of them drew their weapons too. "The human has corrupted the commander," Krell said. "She has forgotten her duty to the Dominion." I have forgotten nothing, Lyra said, rising to her feet. Her own weapon was now in her hand. My duty is to truth, not comfortable lies. Then you are a traitor, Krell said, and you will die with the human. The chamber erupted in weapons fire. Lyra pulled Ethan behind the central cylinder for cover. 2 officers remained loyal to her, fighting against Krell and the others. We need to get back to the ship, Lyra said. Her voice was calm, but Ethan could feel her pain through their bond. The blast had hurt her more than she showed. There's something else, Ethan said. Something the station showed me. He pressed his hand against the cylinder again, focusing on a specific question: how to access the station's systems. New information flooded his mind. He suddenly knew how to control the station's defenses. With a thought, he activated a containment field around Krell and his supporters. They were frozen in place, unable to move or fire their weapons. How did you do that? Asked one of the loyal officers in awe. I don't know, Ethan said honestly. It's like the station is talking to me. Lyra was staring at him with new eyes. The bond, she said softly. It must have changed you somehow. Awakened abilities that were dormant. They returned to the ship with the loyal officers. But news of what had happened spread quickly among the crew. Many were disturbed by the revelation about Vaharan origins. Some questioned Lyra's leadership. In Czech, her quarters, Lyra finally revealed her secret to Ethan. I am not like other Vaharans, she said. My bloodline has been carefully maintained for generations. We are different. Different how? Ethan asked. My ancestors were part of a secret faction within Vaharan society. They knew the truth about our origins. They have been working for centuries to reunite the 3 species, Vaharan, Krell, and human. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I did not fully trust you. Because I was raised to keep these secrets. Lyra looked away. And because I was not sure if I believed it myself. Until today. So you knew about the station? About what we would find there? Not exactly. I knew there were ancient sites that contained the truth. I was ordered to find one and to find you. Ethan felt cold. Me specifically? You were looking for me? Yes. You are the last known descendant of a specific human bloodline. A bloodline that can activate the ancient technology scattered throughout the galaxy. That's why you saved me from the escape pod? Yes. At first. Lyra met his eyes. But that is not why I protect you now. Through their bond, Ethan felt the truth of her words. Whatever mission had brought them together, something else kept them together now. Something neither of them fully understood. A communication alert sounded. Lyra checked the message and her expression darkened. The Dominion Council has ordered us to return immediately. They want me to bring you and all data from the station. She looked at Ethan grimly. If we go back, they will separate us. They will study you, experiment on you, and they will punish me for allowing the truth to be discovered. Then we don't go back, Ethan said simply. That would make us fugitives, hunted by both the Vaharan Dominion and the Krell Imperium. We already know the truth about both empires. They're built on lies. Ethan took her hand. It felt natural now, though once he would have been afraid to touch her. We can find others who know the truth. There must be more like you, more like me. Lyra was quiet for a long moment, then she nodded. There are. Hidden throughout the galaxy. Finding them will not be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is, Ethan said with a smile. Lyra made a decision. I will speak to the loyal officers. We will take the stealth vessel and leave tonight. As she turned to go, Ethan caught her arm. Lyra, whatever happens, we face it. Together. Through their bond, he felt her answer before she spoke it. Always. 2 months passed on the Twilight Sentinel. Ethan learned many things in that time. He learned that the Vaharans were a warrior race from a heavy-gravity planet. This made them stronger than humans and able to move faster. He learned that they valued duty above all else. Their society was built on strict rules about who served who. Ethan also learned about his place on the ship. He was Commander Lyra's personal servant, This meant he followed her everywhere and did whatever tasks she gave him. The other Vaharans on the ship watched him with cold eyes. They did not speak to him unless they had to. "They do not trust you," Lyra told him one day as they walked through the ship. "You are the first human most of them have seen." "They don't have to trust me," Ethan said. "But they could at least be polite." Lyra made the sound that Ethan now knew was Vaharan laughter. "Politeness is not our way, respect must be earned." "And how do I earn their respect?" Ethan asked. "By showing your worth," Lyra said. "By proving you deserve to live among us." Ethan sighed. "That's not very helpful." They entered Lyra's private quarters. The room was large but simple. There were few decorations except for some strange metal objects that Ethan guessed were weapons or awards. A large window showed the stars outside. "Sit," Lyra said, pointing to a chair. It was too tall for Ethan, made for Vaharan bodies. He had to climb up to sit in it. Lyra sat across from him. "Tell me about Earth," she said. This had become a routine. Every night Lyra asked Ethan questions about humans and Earth. She wanted to know everything: how humans lived, what they believed, how they fought wars, how they made peace. "What do you want to know?" Ethan asked. "Your family structures," Lyra said. "How do humans choose their mates?" Ethan smiled. "That's a big question. It's different in different cultures. Some people marry for love. Some marriages are arranged by families. Some people never marry at all." "Love," Lyra repeated the word as if it was strange to her. "This concept is important to humans." "Very important," Ethan said. "Don't Vaharans feel love?" Lyra was quiet for a moment. "We feel connection, loyalty, but not as humans describe love. Our mates are chosen for genetic compatibility and social advantage." "That sounds cold," Ethan said before he could stop himself. "It is practical," Lyra said. "Emotion is a luxury in war, and the Vaharans have been at war for a very long time." "With the Krell?" Ethan asked. "Yes. For centuries now." Lyra stood up and walked to the window. "The Krell want to control all worlds in this part of the galaxy. We stop them where we can." "And Earth?" "You said they're watching human worlds. The Krell see humans as weak, easy to conquer." Lyra turned to look at him. "Are they right?" Ethan thought about Earth's military forces. They were strong against other humans, but against aliens like the Vaharans or Krell? "Maybe," he admitted. "We've never faced anything like the Krell." An alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Red lights flashed on the walls. Lyra moved quickly to a panel near the door. "What is it?" Ethan asked. "Krell scouts," Lyra said. Her voice was calm, but her body was tense. "They found us." "What do we do?" "I fight," Lyra said. She pressed a button on the panel, and a section of the wall opened, revealing her armor and weapons. "You stay here." "I can help," Ethan said, standing up. "How?" "You cannot fight like a Vaharan." "No, but I can think like a human," Ethan said. "And sometimes that's an advantage." Lyra looked at him for a long moment. "Very well. Follow me. Stay close. If you die, it is not my fault." Ethan followed Lyra through the ship. Alarms were still sounding. Vaharans rushed past them, all armed and ready for battle. They reached the bridge, a large room filled with control panels and screens. The main screen showed 3 small ships approaching. "Krell boarding vessels," said one of the Vaharans at a control panel. "They will attempt to breach our hull." "Prepare defense teams," Lyra ordered. "All weapons ready." The ship shook as the Krell vessels fired on them. The Twilight Sentinel fired back, destroying one of the small ships. But the other 2 managed to reach the hull. "Hull breach in Section 7, someone reported. Krell boarding parties entering the ship." "I will lead the defense," Lyra said. She turned to Ethan. "Stay on the bridge." But as she left, Ethan had an idea. He moved to one of the control panels. The symbols were Vaharan, but Lyra had been teaching him their language. "What are you doing, human?" asked a Vaharan officer. "The environmental controls," Ethan said. Can you access them from here? The officer looked suspicious but nodded. Why? The Krell. What atmosphere do they breathe? Methane-based. Very different from what you or we breathe. And your ship can adjust atmosphere composition in different sections, right? The officer's eyes widened as he understood Ethan's plan. Yes, we can. Together they worked on the controls, changing the atmosphere in Section 7 where the Krell had boarded. They increased the oxygen levels and removed all methane. On another screen, Ethan could see the fight. The Krell were reptile-like beings with 4 arms and tough, scaly skin. They were fighting fiercely against the Vaharans. Lyra was in the middle of the battle, moving faster than Ethan thought possible, her weapon cutting down Krell warriors. Then the atmosphere changes took effect. The Krell began to stumble. Their movements became slow. Some fell to the ground, gasping with their strange mouths. It's working, Ethan said. They can't breathe. The Vaharans pressed their advantage, quickly defeating the weakened Krell. Within minutes, the battle was over. The remaining Krell ship fled. When Lyra returned to the bridge, she was splattered with dark green blood. Krell blood. She walked straight to Ethan. The atmosphere changed, she said. That was your idea. Ethan nodded, suddenly nervous. Yes, I thought. You saved many Vaharan lives today, Lyra said. Her voice was different, softer somehow. No one else thought of such a simple solution. The other Vaharans on the bridge were looking at Ethan now. Their expressions hadn't changed, but something in their posture was different. Less hostile, more curious. Thank you, Ethan said. I'm glad I could help. After the battle, things changed. The other Vaharans still didn't talk to Ethan much, but they no longer looked at him with cold eyes. Some even nodded to him when he passed. That night, back in Lyra's quarters, she was quiet. She stood by the window for a long time looking at the stars. What are you thinking about? Ethan asked. You, Lyra said simply. You are not what I expected. Is that good or bad? I am not sure yet. She turned to face him. There is something. I must tell you, Ethan, right? Something important. Ethan felt a strange tension in the air. What is it? The Vaharans have abilities that humans do not know about, Lyra said. We can form mental bonds with those we consider family or very close companions. These bonds allow us to sense each other's presence and sometimes even thoughts. Like telepathy, Ethan asked. Similar, yes. These bonds form naturally over time between Vaharans who are close. Why are you telling me this? Lyra stepped closer to him. Because since I saved your life, I have felt the beginning of such a bond with you. This should be impossible. You are human, not Vaharan. Ethan didn't know what to say. I don't understand. Neither do I, Lyra admitted. But I can feel your presence in my mind. Faint, but growing stronger each day, and I believe you can feel mine too, though you may not recognize it. Ethan thought about the strange feelings he had been having. The way he sometimes knew what Lyra was going to say before she said it. The way he could sense her mood. If anyone in the Dominion Council discovered this, Lyra continued, they would take us both for study. They would want to know how this is possible. The tests would not be pleasant. So what do we do? Ethan asked. For now, we say nothing. We continue as before. Lyra's purple eyes seemed to look into his soul. But you should know that our fates are now linked, Ethan, right? Whatever happens to one of us will affect the other. I'm not sure if that's scary or comforting, Ethan said with a small smile. Both, I think, Lyra said. And for the first time since he had met her, she smiled back. Lyra's stealth vessel slipped away from the Twilight Sentinel in the darkness of space. Only 5 officers had chosen to join them, those who valued truth over blind loyalty to the Dominion. The small ship was fast and hard to detect, but it had limited range. We need to find a safe port, Lyra said as she studied star charts, somewhere beyond Vaharan and Krell control. Ethan stood beside her, looking at the unfamiliar stars. How far does their influence reach? Too far, said Officer Vela, one of the loyal few. but there are independent worlds in the outer sectors, trading posts and mining colonies that answer to no empire. They set course for a mining colony called Helios 9. It orbited a red dwarf star, far from major trade routes. The journey would take 3 weeks at their best speed. During that time, Ethan's abilities continued to develop. The mental bond with Lyra grew stronger every day. He could now share her senses if he concentrated, seeing through her eyes, feeling what she felt. More strangely, he found he could interface with the ship's systems directly, without using control panels. "It's like the machines speak to me," he told Lyra, as they trained together in the ship's small cargo hold. "I can feel their code, their purpose." "The ancient race that created humans must have had such abilities," Lyra said. She was teaching Ethan Vaharan combat techniques, pushing his evolving physiology to its limits. "They built the stations and the technology that responds to you." Ethan blocked a strike from Lyra, moving faster than any normal human could. His body had changed since the station. He was stronger, his reflexes sharper. His mind processed information. "At incredible speeds, do you think there are others like me?" he asked as they circled each other. "There must be," Lyra said. "Hidden among humans, their potential dormant until activated by the ancient technology." She attacked again, her movements graceful and deadly. Ethan matched her now, anticipating her strikes through their bond. They moved as one being, neither able to gain advantage over the other. Finally, Lyra called a halt. "Enough," she said, not even breathing hard. "You learn quickly." "I have a good teacher," Ethan replied with a smile. Through their bond, he felt a warm response from Lyra. Their connection had changed them both. Lyra was more expressive now, less bound by Vaharan emotional restraint, and Ethan had gained some of her discipline and focus. They reached Helios 9 without incident. The mining colony was built into a large asteroid. Ships of various designs filled the docking bays. The population was mixed: humans, Vaharans, Krell, and many species Ethan had never seen before. "Keep your hood up," Lyra told Ethan as they left the ship. She and the other Vaharans wore civilian clothes now, not Dominion uniforms. "Your human features will draw attention." They found lodging in a quiet sector of the colony. Officer Vela made contact with a group she called the Seekers, Vaharans who had discovered fragments of the truth about their origins and sought freedom from the Dominion. "They will meet us tomorrow," Vela reported. "They want proof of what we found at the station." "We have the data scans," Lyra said, "and we have Ethan. That should be proof enough." That night, as Ethan and Lyra stood at the window of their small room, looking out at the stars, he felt a sudden chill through their bond. "What is it?" he asked. "We are being watched," Lyra said quietly. "I can sense it." Ethan reached out with his mind, trying to feel what she felt. He sensed a presence, cold, calculating, familiar somehow. "Krell?" he asked. "No. Vaharan." Lyra's face was grim. "Someone from the ship. Someone who knows about us." They didn't sleep that night. Lyra kept her weapon close, and Ethan practiced reaching out with his mind, trying to locate the Watcher. By morning, the presence had vanished. The meeting with the Seekers took place in an abandoned mining tunnel. There were 7 of them, all Vaharans, led by an old female named Sen. "So," Sen said, looking at Ethan with interest, "this is the human who can activate the ancient technology." "My name is Ethan Wright," he said, meeting her gaze. "I know who you are," Sen replied. "We have been watching for someone like you for generations." She turned to Lyra. "You were right to bring him to us. The Dominion Council would have dissected him to learn his secrets." "We need your help," Lyra said. "We are being hunted." "Of course you are," Sen said. "You have discovered the truth that both empires have tried to hide for millennia, that we are all one species, separated by time and engineering." She led them deeper into the tunnel, to a chamber filled with ancient artifacts. Some resembled the technology from the station. Others were completely alien. "We have been collecting these for centuries," Sen explained. "Pieces of our true history, scattered across the galaxy." Ethan felt drawn to a small cube in the center of the room. When he touched it, it glowed with the same blue light as the cylinder on the station. Images flooded his mind again, but clearer this time, more focused. He saw Earth, but not as it was now. This was Earth from the distant past, when humans had been a spacefaring civilization. He saw the creation of the Vaharans and Krell as specialized offshoots designed for different environments and purposes. And he saw the war that had destroyed it all. A terrible conflict that had forced the survivors to retreat to Earth, their memories and technology lost. The stations, Ethan gasped as the vision faded. They were built as safeguards. They're programmed to reawaken human potential when both engineered species threaten to destroy each other again. Sen nodded. Yes, the cycle has happened before. The Vaharans and Krell rise, they war, they fall, and each time humans emerge to rebuild. But this time is different, Lyra said. This time we know the truth before the destruction. A sudden explosion rocked the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. Alarms blared throughout the colony. We've been found, Vela said, rushing into the chamber. Krell ships have entered the system, and there's a Vaharan dreadnought right behind them. They ran back to the surface. The colony was in chaos. People rushed toward ships trying to escape. In the sky above, visible through the colony's force dome, Krell battleships exchanged fire with the Vaharan dreadnought. How did they find us? Lyra wondered. Ethan felt a familiar presence in his mind. Cold. Calculating. There, he said, pointing to a figure watching them from across the docking bay. That's who I sensed last night. The figure was Vaharan, dressed in a Dominion uniform. Even from a distance, Lyra recognized him. Soren, she said, my former second-in-command. Soren smiled coldly, then spoke into a communication device. Moments later, a group of Krell soldiers appeared behind him. He's working with the Krell? Ethan was shocked. No, Lyra said grimly. He's playing both sides. He told the Dominion where to find us, and he told the Krell too. He wants us all to destroy each other. They fought their way back to their ship. The Vaharan officers formed, a protective circle around Ethan, Lyra, and Sen. Two fell to Krell weapons before they reached the docking bay. As they prepared to board, Soren appeared again, blocking their path. He held a strange device in his hand. Commander Lyra, he said with a mocking bow, and the human pet. How convenient to find you together. Stand aside, Soren, Lyra said, her weapon raised. You cannot stop what has begun. Oh, but I can, Soren replied. Do you know what this is? He held up the device. It's a beacon. It's been transmitting your location since you left the Sentinel. And now it will do something even more interesting. He pressed a button on the device. Ethan felt a searing pain in his head. The bond with Lyra seemed to burn like fire. He fell to his knees, gasping. A neural disruptor, Soren explained calmly. Designed specifically to target the telepathic bond you share. Fascinating thing, that bond. The scientists at Dominion headquarters will be very interested to study it. After, I bring them your bodies, of course. Lyra fired her weapon, but Soren was already moving. He was fast, even faster than Lyra. He dodged the blast and struck her with incredible force, sending her flying backward. Through the pain of the disrupted bond, Ethan reached out with his mind. Not to Lyra this time, but to the colony's systems. He could feel them all around him, power grids, life support, docking controls. And the neural disruptor, its code a harsh, jarring presence in his awareness. With a thought, he rewrote its programming. The pain stopped instantly. The device in Soren's hand sparked and died. Soren looked surprised for only a moment. Then he laughed. Impressive, human, but not enough. He moved toward Ethan with blinding speed, but Lyra was faster. She intercepted Soren, her weapon forgotten as they grappled. They were evenly matched, their movements too quick for normal eyes to follow. Ethan could do nothing but watch as the two Vaharans fought. He knew Lyra was injured from Soren's first attack. Through their restored bond, he could feel her pain, her determination. Soren gained the upper hand. He had Lyra pinned, his hands around her throat. You betrayed everything, he hissed. Our people, our history. All for this human. No, Lyra gasped. I betrayed nothing. I found the truth. Ethan reached out again with his mind, desperately searching for something, anything he could use. He found the colony's defense systems. With a surge of mental energy, he activated a security field around Soren. The Vaharan was caught in a web of energy. He screamed as it contracted, holding him in place. Lyra broke free of his grip and staggered to her feet. We need to go, she said, her voice hoarse. The field won't hold him for long. The dying star glowed red against the blackness of space. It was ancient in the final stages of its life, and hidden within its outer layers was the station they sought, the largest and most important of the ancient network. How do we reach it? Ethan asked as they viewed the star on their ship's screens. The heat would destroy us long before we got close. The station generates a protective field, Sen explained. But we must signal it to extend that field around our ship. All eyes turned to Ethan. He nodded, understanding what was needed. He closed his eyes and reached out with his mind, searching for the familiar touch of the ancient technology. At first there was nothing, just the vast emptiness of space. Then faintly he felt it, a presence, old beyond imagining, waiting. Found it, Ethan said softly. It's sleeping. Through their bond, Lyra supported him, lending him her strength. Ethan pushed his consciousness further, calling to the dormant station. Wake up, he thought. We've come home. The response was immediate. A beam of golden light shot from within the star's corona, enveloping their ship. On the screens, they could see a tunnel forming in the stellar material, a safe passage to the station at the core. It worked, Vela said in awe. It recognizes him. They guided the ship into the tunnel of light. The star's heat was held at bay by an invisible barrier, just as Sen had predicted. As they moved deeper, they got their first glimpse of the station. It was enormous, far larger than the one they had found earlier. Its ring-shaped structure spun slowly around a central sphere that glowed with the same golden light as the protective beam. The heart of remembrance, Sen whispered. I never thought I would see it with my own eyes. As they docked at the station, alarms sounded on their ship. Multiple vessels entering the star's orbit, Vela reported. Vaharan and Krell. They followed us. How many? Lyra asked. All of them. The entire Vaharan fleet from this sector, and what looks like a major Krell battle group. Vela looked up from the sensors. They're not fighting each other. They're waiting. For what? Asked one of the other officers. For us, Ethan said. For what we do here. They entered the station through an airlock that opened at their approach. Unlike the previous station, this one was fully powered, its corridors lit with a warm golden glow. The walls were covered in the now familiar symbols, but here they seemed to shift and change as Ethan looked at them. The station is reading my thoughts, he realized. It's adjusting itself to communicate with me. Lyra stayed close to him, her hand never far from her weapon. Can you sense any other presence here? Any defenses? Ethan shook his head. It feels welcoming, like it's been waiting for us for a very long time. They reached the central chamber. It was a vast space dominated by a glowing sphere that hovered in the center. Around it, holographic displays showed star systems, genetic codes, and historical events, the complete record of their shared past. This is it, Sen said. The truth in its entirety. Ethan approached the sphere. He knew instinctively what it was, the heart of the station, the repository of all its knowledge. When he touched it, the connection was instant and overwhelming. He saw everything. The rise of human civilization on Earth, their expansion to the stars, the creation of the Vaharans as a warrior caste, designed to survive on high-gravity worlds, the engineering of the Krell as explorers and colonists for methane-based planets. He saw the harmony that had once existed between the three peoples, and he saw how it had broken down. A disagreement over expansion, the first conflicts, the war that had nearly destroyed them all, and he saw what the survivors had done, how they had hidden the truth, erased memories, separated the three children, of Earth to develop independently, how they had created the stations as safeguards, programmed to reawaken when the time was right. When Ethan finally pulled away from the sphere, tears streamed down his face. "I understand now," he said. "I know what we have to do." A tremor ran through the station. On the holographic displays, they could see the fleets moving closer, beginning to enter the tunnel of light. "They're coming," Vela warned, "and there are too many for us to fight." "We don't need to fight them," Ethan said. He looked at Lyra, sharing his understanding through their bond. "The station has a choice for us. We can activate its defense protocols and destroy both fleets. Or we can initiate a reconciliation sequence, broadcast the truth to all Vaharan and Krell vessels. Destroy them, said one of the officers immediately. They would do the same to us. No, Sen argued. If we destroy them, we only continue the cycle of violence. The truth must be known. Lyra was silent, her military training warring with what she had learned. Through their bond, Ethan felt her struggle. "Lyra," he said softly. "What do you think?" She met his eyes. "As a Vaharan commander, I would choose destruction. It is the tactically sound choice." She paused. "But as your bondmate, I choose truth, even if it's harder, even if it hurts." Ethan nodded. He turned back to the sphere and placed his hands on it once more. "Initiate reconciliation sequence," he commanded. The sphere pulsed with light. The holographic displays around them merged into a single massive image, a complete history of their three peoples, compressed into a form that could be instantly understood. "It's beautiful," Sen whispered. "The station is broadcasting to all ships," Vela reported, checking a portable scanner. Vaharan and Krell alike. The broadcast was more than just information. The station was sending out an energy wave that activated dormant genetic memories in both species. Centuries of hatred and mistrust were being challenged by the sudden flood of ancient truth. Ethan felt the process through his connection to the station. He felt thousands of minds reeling with shock, then recognition, then, slowly, acceptance. But the energy required was enormous. Ethan felt it flowing through him, using him as a conduit. His body began to change at the cellular level. The dormant genetic potential that had been awakened by the first station was now fully activating. "Ethan!" Lyra cried out as he fell to his knees. She rushed to his side, supporting him. "What's happening to him?" she demanded of Sen. The old Vaharan looked at Ethan with awe. "He is becoming what he was always meant to be. His human cells are rebuilding themselves using the ancient template. He will have the extended lifespan of his ancestors, centuries instead of decades." Lyra felt the change through their bond. Ethan's mind was expanding, his consciousness growing in ways she could barely comprehend. And because of their connection, she was changing too. Her genetic structure was stabilizing, adapting to match his. When the broadcast finally ended, Ethan opened his eyes. They glowed faintly with the same golden light as the sphere. "It's done," he said. His voice was the same, but there was a new depth to it, a resonance that hadn't been there before. "The fleets," Vela said, checking her scanner again. "They've stopped advancing. They're just waiting." "They're processing what they've learned," Ethan said. He stood up, steady now despite the massive changes to his body. "It will take time for them to accept it fully, but the truth can't be unlearned." A communication signal chimed. It was coming from the lead Vaharan dreadnought. Lyra answered it. The screen showed the face of the Vaharan High Commander, the leader of the entire Dominion fleet. His expression was troubled, but there was no hostility in his eyes. "Commander Lyra," he said formally, "your actions constitute treason against the Dominion." "With respect, High Commander," Lyra replied. "My actions serve the true purpose of the Vaharan people, to find our way back to our rightful place in the galaxy." The High Commander was silent for a moment. Then he said, "The Krell fleet has proposed a ceasefire while we consider the implications of this new information. I have accepted." A wise decision, Lyra said. What happens now? The High Commander asked. It was perhaps the first time in Vaharan history that such a high-ranking officer had asked guidance from a subordinate. Lyra looked at Ethan. Through their bond, they shared a moment of perfect understanding. Now, she said, we remember who we really are, and we build something new. In the days that followed, a fragile alliance formed. Representatives from the Vaharan Dominion and the Krell Imperium came to the station. They spoke with Ethan and Lyra, with Sen and the Seekers. They examined the records, the genetic proof, the historical evidence. Some denied the truth. Some accepted it immediately. Most were somewhere in between, cautious, questioning, but willing to listen. A council was formed, 3 representatives each from the Vaharans, the Krell, and the humans who had joined them from independent colonies. Their first act was to designate the station as neutral territory, a place where all 3 peoples could come to learn their shared history. Ethan and Lyra were appointed as the guardians of the ancient network. Their unique bond made them perfect intermediaries between the 3 species. With Ethan's ability to activate and control the stations, and Lyra's understanding of both military and political realities, they became the foundation upon which a new peace was built. It was not easy. Centuries of hatred and mistrust could not be erased overnight. There were attacks by extremists on all sides. There were times when the fragile alliance nearly broke apart. But slowly, steadily, progress was made. 5 years after they had first discovered the truth, Ethan and Lyra stood together on an observation deck of the station,